We made it to Norway, barely. We were kind of getting a little stressed out. Is that the understatement of the year? As we were trying to pack, we found out that all the suitcases that we were taking to Norway as carry-ons were too big by a half an inch or an inch. So yesterday we were frantically, well, not we, I was frantically trying to find something to put our clothes and stuff in, which was kind of hard because we didn't know where to shop or anything in London. We weren't sure. So we were asking our friend Darren where we should do all that. So anyway, the day before yesterday and yesterday I was like, wow. So we put all our stuff in storage, got everything in 2 bags if you're following me on Facebook. So, hello everyone. Hello my brother. Hello Darren. No Darren, we didn't get suitcases. I just got some, like a big tote. And we just did that. So.
You go get one?
No, it's okay. So, this trip has not quite been working out as well as we had thought it would. we kind of had visions of things that weren't happening, but we're going to get on and talk a little bit. We go to see Turid tomorrow. Can't wait to meet her. Actually, she's the only reason we're in Norway, because I'll tell you, for the last week, I have been looking almost every day for flights back home because I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Let's just go. It's not really homesickness. It's just because I ain't homesick. I've never really missed home, which is weird. But it's not really homesickness. It's just more, we're really tired and worn out. But we have recommended Airbnb a ton. When Mike and Ellie went to Ireland a couple of years ago, they used Airbnb. We'll have been in what, about 10 Airbnbs on this trip? Do you know how many we've been in?
If you give me a second, I'll think about it. Let's see. Do you want me to switch the view to that for a minute?
So, let Mike think for just a minute how many Airbnbs. So look at this view while he's looking that we have at our Airbnb in Norway. Okay? So I say that as we actually have a decent Airbnb. Isn't that pretty? Right there. That's our view in Norway. Super, super pretty. We are loving it. It's really quiet here.
It's been 6 Airbnbs. Well,
by the end of the trip?
No. By the end of the trip, it'll be, well, this is booking.com, which is basically a similar thing, yeah. But it's the similar thing. And then there'll be 2 more Airbnbs. Although what we found is the London ones particularly have been just terrible. Like everything it says about them isn't really actually the way they really are. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, we got a little deflated, is that the word? For the amount of money that we spent on some of these Airbnbs, which some of them were working up to $200 a night.
Well, there are places where the hotels were expensive, but
yeah,
they were getting to be pretty much, well, they were almost as much as a hotel, but then the people were saying things like, you have to do all the cleaning even though there's a cleaning fee, and we want you to recycle 20 different ways, and by the way, trash bags aren't included, and here's a vending machine where you pay for your own electricity.
Yeah. So, like the one...
So at that point we were thinking, wow, we could have gone to a hotel, probably saved money, and all of it would be included.
And didn't have to do any cleaning. So... we've kind of gotten a little bad taste about Airbnb. Now, to say all that...
Well, also, there was an Airbnb. So London was the main issue.
Yeah.
Although there was a really nice one in Ireland that... it was great, except for the recycling thing and the vending machine were kind of sprung on us later without being listed in the listing. But the one in London that we were in, that Tara was in with the boys for the last 5 days... six days. All the commentary said how amazing and quiet it was, and how beautiful it was, and Airbnb said it was rated as spotlessly clean by 100% of the people.
Super quiet, great neighborhood.
Well, it turned out it was in the flight path of the airport.
Yeah.
And so like every 30 seconds a plane flew over and the whole place would be rumbling, and we were thinking, well, Ellie and I weren't there 3 of the days. But I think generally when we heard it, we were thinking, wow, this doesn't sound very quiet.
From 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 to 11:30 at night, every 30 seconds, a plane was going off. There was a hospital like 2 blocks down the road. An ambulance was going off every probably hour, 30 minutes or an hour, I don't know. And then there were people all over the place, just walking, loud music. I don't know who was playing The Greatest Showman, but there was something going on, and we heard The Greatest Showman one night till 11:30, which is great. Love the music, that's fine. But we just noticed that with the Airbnbs, even though they're rated high, they're really not
true.
Good. Yeah.
Well, and I kind of think, I think our experience with it has. So when Ellie and I
went...
Oh
my, there's a dog in our yard now. And...
Here's a neighbor puppy. Look at that.
Hello, you're cute.
Hey there, little neighbor puppy.
Oops.
Now it's in the house.
Oh, no. There's a dog.
Meanwhile, Mike will show you a beautiful shot of the fjord here in Bergen, Norway. It's just spectacular. We're only at this place one day. There's another place that Tara wanted to go to that we actually primarily booked. It wasn't available one day, so we ended up finding this one, which now we're thinking, wow, this is really nice. Maybe we should stay here longer. The other one is a redone barn, but I'm not sure. Do we want to live in a barn?
Well, I always thought it would be fun. But even like this place, we noticed the guy said leave 20...
He said leave money for cleaning.
He said leave like about $25, well, 22, $25, somewhere around there. For cleaning, leave the money on the table. And we're like, but we already paid for that.
So I looked back and I found on the breakdown of price that it says there's a cleaning fee, but then it shows that it's paid. So we're kind of dealing with them on that right now. But the thing is, it's not relaxing when you constantly have to be dealing with the people about things like this, where it's everything says this is the way it is, and then it's not. The weird thing is when Ellie and I, maybe we were just...
Does the dog understand English? I don't know. He maybe doesn't. Oops.
Maybe Ellie and I were just more... Maybe we just rolled with it more at the time, or maybe it's because with the whole family, we have the whole house, and with the room, when Ellie and I would have a room or a flat, a small apartment, maybe it was a little different. I'm not really sure. Well, actually, no, what happened, I know with Ellie and I is, it was $200 a night for a hotel, that's $60 a night for the Airbnb. And
you've gone all day, and then you just came and slept, basically, I guess.
Yeah. And so here, mainly what we were finding is there were a lot of requirements as part of the kind of sharing thing that makes it more expensive than a hotel.
And more frustrating. Just like, the whole trash bag thing in Scotland.
So in Scotland we were like 30 miles from the nearest town. And the lady was like, yeah, be sure and empty your own trash. And we're thinking, okay,
that's
we're okay with that. We're like, okay, where are the trash bags? And she says, oh, well, this is self-catering. You should be providing your own supplies. And we're like, trash bags? Everyone else, the trash bags were included at the other ones pretty much. But then the one in Ireland with the pay electricity, it was very expensive. And
it's okay. Where did he go?
Hello.
We're
trying to find the dog.
No, don't come here.
So,
sorry. It's okay. He's cute.
Station identification. No, I'm just kidding. So the one in Ireland was really beautiful, a great location, but it was pretty expensive. I mean, it was really expensive, but the thing is, it was a spectacular location, so we thought that would be great. But
some people are saying we shouldn't leave money on the table.
I'm not going to.
We paid it.
I sent them a copy of the breakdown, even though they didn't seem to agree. I'm not planning to.
Yeah.
But I sent them a screenshot that shows the breakdown that it says it's paid. So, but the one, it really was a nice place. That one in Ireland that we had looked at the farm, and it was not the same farm where Ellie and I stayed before. It was a different one. But it was a little deflating when we had come from Scotland, where where the lady made a big deal about the trash bags. We're like, I said, well, I can pay you for one. She's like, oh, no. And she eventually gave me one. But I was like, okay, just charge me for one or give it to us, but don't make a big stink about it and then want to refuse money for giving me
yeah. So then we went to
because I told her I'd pay her like even like £1 or something for one bag. But she's like, no, that's fine. But I was thinking, okay, well, it seems not very relaxing when you kind of have to be dealing with that kind of stuff. So we thought we've come to the conclusion in our own minds that we would only go to hotels after that. And what's funny is Tara was, well, we were really frustrated at one moment and we're like, let's just see if we can get tickets to go back home. We would have lost a ton of money doing that because we
like
our tickets are not
$10,000. Well, more than that.
No, it was like, well, okay. You mean on places we didn't go to yet?
Yeah, we would have lost all the money on the places, the plane tickets for here, and then paying to go home, which would have been close to $10,000.
So we just thought, let's just look at it as we're just going to hang out and read books and just try to stand down from doing regular stuff, and hopefully that'll work out pretty well. In the meantime, we had some stuff that wasn't working. We were thinking, how can we separate the family a little, because everybody together was ending up a little too much. I think largely Dave got a job, which we can't really talk about what exactly it is, an online job, and so he was doing that instead of kind of holidaying. And Jack was
fine. It's his first job. It's something he really
it's really amazing. It's a great opportunity for him.
We'll tell you when it comes out, but
I think that's supposed to be like September, October, something like that. And then we can say. But he but Jack was kind of bored and they were kind of bickering a little, and we were all just together in a small space at the same time that all this other stuff was going on. So we were like, how can we sort of separate the family? Well, Darren, I think, are you on, Darren?
Yeah.
I think when we met Darren in London, the first time we were in London this trip, I don't know if he really meant it, Darren, but he said, you should get on the Eurostar and go to Paris. Well, we were looking, the Eurostar is the train that goes through the English Channel tunnel, underneath the English Channel. So when we were all frustrated and we were thinking about going home, I was like, that's a lot of money to lose. And I said, Tara was like, I don't ever want to travel again. And I was like, well, Ellie and I still love traveling. And so in the end, somehow I said, we should take the Eurostar and go to Paris, like Darren said. And Tara's like, you guys want to go? Have at it. So, because we thought, well, Dave would be doing his work and Jack was playing some games on the computer and kind of going to the store with Tara and stuff. We thought, well, maybe that'll work out okay. So Ellie and I took 3 days and went out there, and it didn't cost hardly anything because it was really, really cheap because we were already in London. It was like a 2-hour train ride.
Hey, Pia! I was saying we should jump over to Sweden and see you.
She said it just today, Pia.
I did. I was like, maybe we should just go over to Sweden and see Pia before we got here.
So, here, let's give everybody a view again real quick.
Yep, here's our view.
So this is the fjord side view. It is really, really spectacularly beautiful here. And we can see why Norway is amazing. In fact, the funny thing is, we were this morning after that other place in London, we were like, okay, this is, how many more days of this? But when we actually landed in Norway and we got out, we were driving along in the car, I think all of us started feeling a little more energized, like, okay, this place is awesome.
I was like, okay, I remember why Sweden was so pretty and why I love Sweden. I remember why we like the mountains in Colorado.
Well, Ellie said right away,
she said, city people.
Ellie said, this does remind me a lot of Colorado.
But part of the reason why we're doing this video is because, just to warn you guys, because we have really promoted Airbnb a lot in some of our videos. And after this experience, we're actually taking down all our links, everything, because, even things like at this last one we were in London, I couldn't even put a pizza in the oven because the oven was so nasty.
But it said 100%. The ad though said Airbnb was promoting it to us as 100% of people said it was sparkling clean.
And it was. They had a cat, and it smelled like cat and mold. And the refrigerator was not that great. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't great.
First thing I noticed was there were all kinds of like open containers in the fridge that looked like food that was likely to expire while we were there. And when we came into the place, it was kind of eerie a little in that it was like the family was in the house and they just ran out of the house 15 minutes before we came, because
Yeah, it was
all
weird.
Their stuff
all their
was there.
stuff, school books were just sitting there on the couch.
Kids, yeah, in the kids' rooms, all their stuff was there, and we almost felt like we were intruding on somebody's life.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then, like in the bathroom, the bath toys were sitting on the edge of the tub, and
there were shoes and coats just kind of right there by, like, somebody just literally ran out the door without their stuff. It was really weird.
Well, and I was looking for silverware in the kitchen, opened the drawer, I guess it was a junk drawer, and it had some kind of serious personal items in there that I was thinking, I don't really want to be seeing this from somebody else. And so,
yeah.
I guess
the thing here's
some
the
people
thing.
Really, I guess, I don't know. We were just a little shocked because if we expected it to be that way and we agreed to it, it would have been okay, I guess. But what it was sold to us as by Airbnb and kind of the owners and previous guests was not necessarily what we ended up experiencing there. So that was the main thing. And that particular one, we had 2 in London so far, and they were both pretty bad. One of them, the smoke detector was bleeping and it had no battery that you could take out. And so I ended up burying it in our luggage until we got done.
And that last place when we were in Dublin before we were leaving, that wasn't very clean either.
Which one?
The night that we stayed in Dublin before we went to the airport. It wasn't.
Oh, well, yeah, that was kind of a weird one because the lady didn't reply or respond, and we finally showed up at the place and no sign of her, and we were about to bail, and I was communicating with Airbnb about canceling it, and all of a sudden she messaged me back and said, "Oh, I've had some bad things going on, bad news or something." Maybe. So, but the thing is,
like, okay, well, maybe something happened.
So we didn't give her a bad rating or anything like that. We just kind of didn't rate her.
Yeah.
Because the idea was, well, if she really had something going on in her life, we understand. We understand, and it was only one night that we were there, but it wasn't
really clean either. And...
it was in pretty bad shape, really. But we needed a place to stay, and I'd almost thought, well, let's just cancel it and go to a hotel. Oh. So anyway, but that one ended up being okay. The reason why I mentioned the Paris thing where Ellie and I took that little side trip is that kind of at that point we had said no more Airbnb. So I just kind of booked the ticket, including there was a package that they offer with the hotel, and it was really cheap to do it.
Yeah.
And I said to Tara, I'm not doing any more Airbnbs. Well, the hotel, was a much better experience. And so we thought in the future we'd probably just tell people find a hotel. Yeah. Tell people to find a hotel that works nice for you, and because it was much more relaxing. The thing is, I don't know.
Here's the thing. Kelly says, I think you guys are being very gracious. Actually, we are being extremely gracious.
The thing is, we're not.
If you knew what Tara was really saying behind bars, I mean, really, we are being exceptionally gracious.
Terrifying. Just kidding.
To say that I was willing to spend $10,000 to go home because we were so sick of it tells you a lot.
The sad part, go ahead.
And what's frustrating is someone said on here, well, I plan a lot, so I was really careful. We were very careful. This is where our frustration came in. We went only with Airbnbs that had 5 stars. Mike looked at every
comment,
review.
Every review from everyone.
He spent like 40 hours over the 7 to 8 weeks or 7 weeks before we left. You had to have spent at least 40 hours between researching and planning and reading every single comment. He spent a ton of time. And
honestly, the hotel would have just been like click and go.
And honestly, if we would have just taken 3 weeks and stayed at a Hilton where we knew they were clean, even if it was $300 a night, it would have been so much better. And I mean, I was at the point where at the last place, I was having to boil water to sterilize the kitchen because this woman didn't believe in bleach. She didn't disinfect anything. And not just bleach, there was no kind of disinfectant in the house anywhere. And I was like, I cannot eat off of this. This is not good.
Well,
so
I had suggested maybe we should just go ahead and get a hotel.
You did, but when I looked, we couldn't get any hotels because it's London in the summer.
Yeah, in London the hotels are like $300 a night.
It was more than that. It was going to cost us like $2,500 for 4 nights.
Yeah, so that was.
So it was just we're being extremely gracious, actually.
Well, one thing I did notice because after a while I started looking back to see could I have missed something here, and there were a few people that gave slight hints that you wouldn't read unless you'd actually already had the experience. Mm-hmm. Where like almost like I would look at ones we only accepted ones that had 5 stars, mm-hmm. and typically more than 30 ratings. And so, although there's one that we accidentally booked that had less than 30 ratings, and it was spectacularly great. It was in County Wicklow, Ireland, south of Dublin. And we wished we had stayed there the whole trip after we were there.
Now, to say all this, we have had two or
three.
Hold
on, I was going to say. So I did look back, and I looked back at a number of the ones, like the one that Tara described where she was having to bleach the dishes boil the dishes, and they said it was super quiet and there were airplanes every 30 seconds and all that stuff. That one had like 39 reviews that were 5 stars. And a lot of them were talking about how it's just so quiet and relaxing and peaceful. And I was thinking maybe the people that rated it came from, like living under the subway track or under the elevated track in Chicago or downtown in New York City where it's really loud. I don't know. I was trying to understand how is it that they thought this was quiet.
Yeah.
But so we really did our homework in terms of that, which is why we were thinking maybe we just can't go with Airbnb anymore. The thing is, it's kind of like I've noticed ratings for products online a lot of times anymore. It used to be that you could look at what people say about things and those things were an indication of the item. But nowadays, it appears that on a lot of things that are rated, people can modify, or the companies can modify the ratings so that they don't necessarily show the bad ones.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it seemed like was going on, just because we had so many of those things. So anyway, yeah, so
been...
What I was going to say earlier, though, is it's unfortunate that there were the whole trip hasn't been terrible. There's been good stuff and bad stuff together, but some of the best stuff, unfortunately, Tara was sick and not there. So she experienced the negative and not all the positive that I experienced. So that's kind of the very best thing the kids and I remember. I asked the kids, like, what's the very best thing so far? And the very best thing they remember is in Scotland, we were on this loch, a big lake. We rented a boat that we had. They basically just said, here's the boat. We charge you by the hour. When you come back, we'll settle up.
Yeah.
Took the boat out, and the kids and I were out boating all day, and we stopped on some little islands, and we're looking. We found like Templar graves from like the 12th century, and old castles and things, and there was just nobody on these little deserted islands, and it was awesome. But that day, Tara was really sick, and we went back to try to see if we kind of trolled the boat over to the dock that was closest to the farm to see if she could come down, but she just wasn't feeling well enough. So she missed like the very best thing. Mm-hmm. And there was something else that we did where you were not able to do that for the same kind of reason. So
yeah, then we discovered that I get very seasick.
I was like, so here's the thing. Oh, here, let's give you another shot of there we go. That's the fjord where we are. Yeah, so Ellie and I went on our last trip. Oh, am I covering up the mic? The last trip, the trip that Ellie and I went on, we went on this sail rail, which was train and ferry to Ireland. We came back on the sail rail this time, and I was thinking, oh, that'll just brighten up everybody's day. It was so amazing when Ellie and I went. It was just so wonderful. Well, it turns out that on this particular day, the sea was really choppy.
It was really choppy.
And,
yeah. And I was in the bathroom letting go of my lunch.
The rest of us were
thankfully I made
mostly
it to the bathroom.
Okay. The rest of us were mostly okay. The kids didn't seem to have any trouble, but I was feeling slightly icky. And
man. Well, when we first started, I spent a ridiculous amount on some dinner, and I thought, okay, I need to eat. Yes, I need to eat. And so I went ahead and got a dinner or lunch, and so I ate it. So my lunch had not been processed yet, so I let it go.
Well, I felt okay. So I used to get seasick when I was a kid, but I apparently got over it when I was a teenager. And I haven't had any problems ever since then. But Tara and the kids will have problems like at amusement parks and things like that. But for some reason, I did find myself kind of thinking, okay, I'm okay, but I'm just not quite feeling myself.
Yeah.
But I saw Tara. She was sitting by the window looking out like... and so I thought,
oh my goodness, I'm going to die.
So here's the thing that one of the things that Ellie and I loved the most before Tara just was sick the whole time.
Well, yeah, I don't know. So it hasn't quite turned out to be what we had thought. We got in Norway, and actually I think we're going to love Norway. It's like we stepped off the plane as soon as we got in the brand new car. First time I've ever been in a brand new car. It was brand new, they said, which is a little nerve-wracking because we're afraid to drive it.
Well, actually, that was an experience. So when we were in Ireland, we're like, oh, hey, we should just walk down to this beach. And of course, we always try to be careful about not getting sand and anything like that. But Tara noticed that there was a sign in the car that said that if they found any sand at all in the car, it would be a minimum €100 fine. We're like, okay, so... Well, I mean, we were really careful, but nevertheless, we still... I mean, you can't just avoid getting any amount of sand. And so we did end up going and vacuuming it later. But it was a small amount, but we vacuumed it out just because we're like, yeah, let's make sure they don't find any sand in this car.
So those of you who are wondering, the airplanes were every 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. If we said 30 minutes, we meant 30 seconds. An airplane was going off at our last place in London from 6:30 in the morning till 11:30 at night. So it was every 30 seconds.
When I grew up, we lived in a house in Austin that was in the flight path of Bergstrom Air Force Base, which no longer exists. And the flight path would fly over our house, and those jets were flying over all the time, and it kind of sounded like that.
Yeah. So. And I will say, a few people have said, oh, is it because you're Americans in the United States? I knew this would, or not in the United States. I knew that would come up. Okay, I have traveled twice over to Europe. Mike's this will be his third time to Europe. We are not brand new travelers to Europe. So, and this is not...
Well, we understand things like...
We know there are cultural differences, and we get that. But this is not that kind of stuff.
Well, and we totally understand things like in Ireland, everybody turns off their water heater. So if you want hot water, you have to turn it on far ahead of time. And that's totally cool. That's different. In Britain, a lot of the places we've been, the sink, hot and cold faucets are separate. And that's cool. We're okay with that. We understand different places are different. The issue, I think, really is when when people say this place is super duper quiet, and then it shakes every 30 seconds from airplanes rumbling over. That's not a cultural issue. That's not an American, British, Irish, Scottish issue. That's a things aren't really told the way they are issue. And the thing is, I mean, this London. People speak English in London, so I think the likelihood of miscommunication where you say it's amazingly quiet and relaxing, and then you find out you're right underneath the flight path of an airport, that's kind of difficult communication to misunderstand when both parties speak some version of English.
So somebody asked, their kids just started an Airbnb. What advice would we give them? I would tell them, first of all, make sure everything is clean. And I mean clean. Clean behind the bathroom door where all the cobwebs are. Clean the oven. Clean the microwave. Clean the light switches on the door. And if you have to hire a cleaning crew for the first time to come in and really do a spotless job.
Should we get the boat again?
I would make sure that they clean everything. Secondly, make sure there's things like trash bags and aluminum foil. It doesn't have to be a lot of things, but trash bags and aluminum foil. Another thing, make sure there's sharp knives and sharp potato peelers, because this has actually been a huge problem. I have not really been able to cook very well because their knives are so dull. I'm literally having to tear chicken apart to cook it. And the potato peeler, I couldn't get the potatoes peeled because their knives and their potato peelers are all dull. There's no hot pads in any of these places. Nobody has hot pads, or they don't have usable hot pads. They have these decorative things. There's no hand towels. Get hand towels. Now that might be a cultural thing, and that's fine, but there wasn't any, in one place there wasn't anything to dry the dishes with. So I would think even over here they would need something to dry dishes with.
I would say if your kids are thinking about running an Airbnb, I would recommend offering things like Tara said with the trash bags and stuff. I think sometimes, so what happened with the farm with the power, the lady had a thing put in where you have to pay for your electricity as you go, but it was a highly inflated rate because she had the electric company put in a machine instead of the electric meter where people put coins in, and they use it for people that are not paying their electric bill. And she explained to us that the reason she did that is because some people would come in the wintertime and take really long steamy showers and run the heater with the windows open and all that. And
leave short sleeves with the heat on.
I totally understand that would be frustrating if you were renting out a place. But it kind of felt like we were being punished for someone else's problem.
Especially that place was almost $200 a night. So we were like,
So the thing is, I would say things like the lady that was kind of saying, well, I don't really know if trash bags should be included. That shouldn't really be a discussion. I mean, it's fine if you say hand lotion isn't included or salt and pepper aren't included. Those things are maybe, well, I would still include salt and pepper if it were me, but I'm just saying, if you say hand lotion isn't included, some of those things are much more optional. But trash bags, everyone has trash, and if you're requiring people to take out that. So what I would suggest is that they come up with a list of basic things that, you know, you might have in a hotel, like trash and towels and blankets on the bed, and charge the price that they feel comfortable with while also providing those things. Because I think some people feel like they want to offload the extra costs into some other way, but it's not a good experience for the guests, and because of that, it will affect how many people, how good a prices they get, how much money they make on their Airbnb in the end.
Yeah. And another thing, if you're going to do recycling, which is totally fine, I understand why they do that here. I am not against that, but label which bins the recycling is supposed to go into, what you're supposed to put in there. It's extremely complicated trying to figure out how to do the recycling.
This is like, here's plastics and here's papers and here's newspaper, which is separate from regular paper, and then hot food and cold food and trash.
Yeah. And so Mercedes says, you realize how American you sound, right? How incredibly entitled you sound. You've lost me as a fan. You know what?
Go away.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm sorry. At $200 a night, I expect trash bags. And I expect an oven that I can put a pizza in and not get grossed out. Mercedes.
So Mercedes, would you pay $200 for no trash bags? Is that entitled?
I don't care. That is absolutely ridiculous.
So if you think that about us, please leave. Please unsubscribe, because you're obviously not the kind of person
we're here about. Let me tell you. Sorry, but now back to where we were. We're in Norway. So far, Norway is going good. We've only been here one day. This place is clean. We're having to argue over a $20 cleaning fee with the guy, but we're not going to leave money on the table for him because we've already paid it.
Well, because we have a receipt with the payment that says we already paid it, and Marina, If you think that you would like to be charged twice for the cleaning fee,
Yeah.
I doubt you would. And you can say that we're that way, but you're being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
You're being a hypocrite if you judge us for things and say we're entitled that we wouldn't judge other people for, because the things that we've seen a lot of entitled Americans here, and we're not them.
Yeah. And we are not doing this to try and whine, that kind of thing. We're doing this because we have promoted Airbnb because we have had good experiences before with them. But that was a few years ago. And honestly, I think what's happening is the standard of Airbnb is going down because it's so popular. People are not being as careful, taking care of their places and being as careful when things they're doing. And so I think that's part of it.
Yeah. But mainly I think it's kind of like thrift stores in America went from being, not all thrift stores, but like Goodwill is one particularly. They went from being places where people sell stuff and it's a low price and everybody gets the idea that it's a low price because it's used, to a place where college kids would go and buy things to be chic, and then all of a sudden it's not a low price anymore. Does that mean that the mom who was going to the store because she could buy clothes for her kids for $1 should now pay $20 for the same clothes that she could pay $18 for at Walmart because it's popular with the kids? No, that's why people stop shopping at the stores when the cost is that high. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. So once again, we're just putting this out here because we wanted to warn other people of things to look at. Not all Airbnbs are this way, but we're just telling you because
it's just that the way that the promoting the Airbnb promotes them to try to up the prices is not representing accurately the product.
Yeah.
And there's the farm we stayed on before. We really liked it, and we tried to book it this time, but the price was listed as like $100 and something a night, and then when we clicked buy, Airbnb upped to $500 a night. Yeah. And I talked to the guy directly because I said, "Hey,
it's getting cold out here on August 1st."
I said, "Hey, we really like your place, and it's good to see you," and all that. And he said, "Oh, I didn't know they were doing that, but well, they just have a thing that says like maximize your profits or something." So Airbnb is just kind of manipulating the system in the back. So I don't blame, like in that case, I don't blame him for that. And we even actually went by his farm, kind of gave him a little wave. This trip, Ellie and I did, just because we liked him so much. So it's mostly when something gets advertised one way, and then it's like, for instance, on the airline tickets, we bought them from a place that we bought them before, but this time they bought the tickets that don't include any luggage and stuff, and the prices they quoted us didn't line up with the prices of an airline where it would have been better to get an airline where all of it was included. Yeah. And so those are kind of the learning lessons we've learned this time.
Yeah. Marie says, would it be better to go through a travel agency? So here's the thing. If we were to do this again, I would really consider, like, our friends Donna and Dan. Hi, Donna, if you guys ever watch. Really bad. I know it's getting cold out here. It's great. But our friends Donna and Dan took a tour group through Ireland, and because I think he didn't want to drive. Was that right? I don't know. I don't remember why. But anyway, after driving for 4 weeks in Ireland, I would probably go that way. The driving really put me over the edge. I mean, it was getting to the point where towards the end of the trip,
said with the tour?
No, for us driving. Driving. No, I know.
I mean, you go which way?
I would probably go with the tour in Ireland because the driving really just about put me over the edge. I mean, it was just, the roads are super narrow. I mean, to the point where literally it's a 1-car road and 2 cars are supposed to be going on it. And I was having to calm myself from starting to have panic attacks towards the end because it was getting to be so nerve-wracking. And so I would probably do a tour group, honestly. I don't know that I would go this route. Well, I'm done traveling.
So here's the thing.
I don't know that I would go this route like in Ireland. Norway's better because the roads are bigger and you're driving on the right. But really, the driving on the left really got to me. Now, Mike did fine. He was the driver. He did good.
Tara and I are a little different on that. She would, I think, well, and honestly, I realized partly because she's sick and just partly, you know, she's just not, Ellie and I are willing to put up with more for certain occasions, but like on the car thing, Tara is absolutely right about the roads, and I think it's everybody, well, most people that are familiar with that part of Ireland understand the roads are really skinny and they're really difficult and scary sometimes. But for me, the ability to go places where the bus won't go kind of makes it worth it. And it was pretty dicey. One thing I would say was a learning experience is Google. Well, one thing I would say is a big learning experience if you travel.
It was life-threatening.
We had Google guiding us on the GPS, and it would say, oh, hey, it's 7 minutes faster to go this way. That might work in America, but I wouldn't, with Google, I would just be like, just keep me on the main roads. And the reason why is because they have different classes of roads in Ireland. So there's motorways, they're the bigger highways, and then there are N roads that are kind of pretty decent roads. And then there are R roads and L roads. And L roads are almost all the ones we saw were like one lane for traffic in both directions, and speed limit's 80, and you can come up over a hill and there's traffic meeting you on the other side. And so that's where it really gets scary. Well, Google looks at a map and Google sees, oh, here's a road that goes through and the speed limit is 80. So it says you can save 7 minutes going this way. But what they don't account for is you're going to be like fingernails into the steering wheel gripped, terrified because the road. So after a while, we kind of ditched Google. We used it sort of guide us a little, but I said, you know, the N roads are kind of they're all pretty much consistently good roads. I mean, they're still narrower than the US and Norway and England, but, well, England had some in the northern part that were really narrow. Right? Yeah. But pretty much I said, I'm not going to go on anything less than an N road. And when the kids would say, Google says it's going, and I was thinking, is that an L road? Because if so, I just want to stay where we are. Yeah. Let's just forget about the faster
I don't care if it takes 20 minutes longer. We're going the other road that you can actually drive 2 cars on.
Yeah. So I think in that sense, yeah, it was frightening at times and difficult. And if you're worried about it, I probably wouldn't drive it yourself. I'd probably get a bus. But between Tara and Ellie and me, I think Ellie and I would probably do it again on the small road in the car. But Tara would probably prefer the bus. And, you know, it just depends on what you are interested in. I can say it is pretty scary sometimes when you think, I don't want to hit the car that's coming my way, but there's a stone wall on the other side. But honestly, I was still able to drive it okay. And I know after we I know after we drove for 4 weeks on the left in Ireland and England, here in Norway, I'm having a little bit of difficulty thinking, wait, I should go left. No, I need to go right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. I would say a few things. So here, guys, if you've already got a trip planned, you've got all these Airbnbs kind of like we did, and you can't get your money back, here's a few things that I would keep in mind. 1, when you get to your destination, check and see if they have good knives. But if they don't, get you a sharp knife and a sharp potato peeler so you can actually cook there. 2, get you some disinfecting wipes, which some countries don't have them, or some kind of disinfectant, and take it with you, because a lot of people here are into the natural type stuff, which is fine, but that doesn't disinfect stuff. And I really don't want to sit on a pot that somebody else has been sat on without disinfected. I'm sorry, just the way I am. So I would get those couple of things. I would also make sure that you bring Ziploc bags from America, not here. They don't have, I think because they're trying to go anti-plastic here, they don't have quality bags here, like Ziploc bags or plastic wrap or anything like that. And so the Ziploc bags that I bought here to put stuff in,
the zippers come off.
They're breaking.
Yeah.
And so bring extras. I would say bring like 20 if you're going for, we're 7 weeks. So I would say bring 10 because you're going to need them for the airport. You're going to need them. Like we had to put our little containers of sugar in there, coffee in there, ketchup, that kind of thing in little Ziploc bags, and the tops were ripping open. So bring Ziploc bags. I would also probably bring one hot pad holder and one hand towel at least, or a wash rag, because a lot of these places just did not have those things. And it really is just hard having to use your shirt or whatever to try and get stuff out of the oven if you can bake. Now I will say that don't expect a lot for cooking. I thought I would be cooking every meal, kind of like we do at home. We've been living on chicken, nuggets, and pizza almost the entire time.
Well,
and bread.
And bread.
And toast.
And cereal and oatmeal and stuff like that, which is fine.
I've got a few, like, they do have pre-cut carrots and grapes and, like, the English cucumbers are so good here. Though that, I love the English cucumbers. They are so good. And blackcurrant jelly. Oh, man. I have, like, 5 things of blackcurrant jelly in my suitcase because it is so good. And you can't buy it in the United States because, for those of you who don't know this, blackcurrants are illegal to grow in the United States because they have a fungus that kills the pine trees. So I didn't know that till this trip. So I learned that little factoid. It only cost me a few $1,000s to learn it, but that's okay.
So were the prices a lot more expensive?
Okay, so we went grocery shopping in Norway just for tonight and tomorrow, and then we'll go do a bigger trip tomorrow when we get to the next Airbnb. But I have to say, if you're from the United States, if you're from Canada, if you're from Ireland, if you're from England, none of you can complain about the price of groceries. I don't care how rural it is.
Those places were the same for us.
As a matter of fact, England, like a lot of foods in England are actually 30% cheaper in England than they are in the States.
Oh, and sometimes for the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But
here's the
impressed.
thing. Norway, you guys can complain about the food prices. Oh my word. The cheapest bread is $3.50 a loaf.
We'll have to ask Turid for suggestions because we're going to see Turid hopefully tomorrow.
Well, we went to the grocery store that she said that she thought their prices were okay. So I don't know. Maybe we hit the wrong grocery store, but...
Well, I think we should ask her to show us what she would normally buy.
Yeah. We went to McDonald's. So we just got the basics.
Well, the reason we went there is we got off the plane. Yeah. We were all tired and we were like, let's go back to the Airbnb, but we won't have any food. So
yeah. And so we stopped to McDonald's before we got here. And...
got like just a couple of kids hamburgers and
fries. No drinks, nothing. $35?
Something like that, yeah.
$35.
So we normally spend about $11 if we get that same thing in the States.
Yeah. So Norway, you can complain about food prices.
Yeah.
That's
so when
okay.
people say it's more expensive,
it's not.
Our experience in Norway is that it was true.
Yeah, but not Ireland or England.
But we were actually we were really enjoying the food prices being low in Ireland, especially in Ireland, because we kind of Ellie loves to try all different sorts of things, and there were some pretty amazing foods for very low prices. Yeah.
So interesting. So several people are saying that Airbnbs are getting really bad reviews on. We're not the only ones. They also said that a lot of people said that Airbnbs are really going downhill. So I think it's just that it's so popular that people aren't.
It's funny because I went into a local barber in Ireland and I just thought this will be so much fun going to a local barber, and it was. And we were talking, and he was telling me about kind of Airbnb in the area.
Oh yeah, look at Mike's haircut. Okay, turn to the side. Oh, turn again. Isn't that snazzy? That's a real Irish haircut.
I just said, give me whatever everybody gets around here. So that's what he gave me because I'm so entitled.
It is. What time is it here? 8:30 at night.
So I told him, just give me whatever anybody gets around here. So this is what he did. And we were having a great time talking together. He was a real nice guy. But he told me that people were going crazy with Airbnb in their area. He said in their area it was really hard to get people to work in the town because the places that used to be occupied by people that worked in the town were turning over to Airbnbs. But he was saying that, yeah, the prices of the hotels are less in a lot of the area, a lot of the ones that he's seen. There are some times where it would be, I'm not sure I'd recommend Airbnb because I think that their marketing structure is not honest anymore. Maybe it wasn't before, but it seemed like it was before. But some places that we've had in the past wouldn't be possible to get a hotel in that environment. So I'm not really sure how, if you really wanted that kind of experience, it would be, I don't know, it'd be cool if you could work directly with the owner.
Yeah.
To rent the place and try to clarify what's,
Yeah. So Mike and the two boys got a haircut for €25, right? 25? 28? 25.
I can't remember now.
It was like 25 or €28, which is about $30 for all three of them. The haircuts are even cheaper here by like half. I pay I pay almost $20 for a haircut for the boys now. It's ridiculous.
Well, he quoted us a higher price for a haircut, but then with the three, he's like, "Oh, I'll just give you this discount," and yeah.
Yeah. So that was good.
Then I tried to give him a tip, and he wanted to give me a bunch of change back. And I know tips; it's not a big deal.
Everybody loved the haircut.
Thanks. I know it's not a big tipping culture, and that's fine, and I appreciate that, but he was so over the top awesome that I just kind of felt like it'd be nice to give him something a little extra because he did a great job.
Yeah. What would I look for Airbnbs for clues? I would look for things that talk about the host. So if they're talking about the host and they're not actually talking about the place, oh, the host was so helpful. Oh, she got back to me really quick. And they don't ever talk about the place. That is a big clue. Another thing is,
well, I would read every review because the one that Tara described, it was probably the most icky one.
Yeah.
The one that said it was super quiet when it was in the flight path of the airport and all that. That one, there were 39 5-star reviews, and I read them all. And the one thing that I missed on that one, there was one person who gave what sounded like a really positive review, but then kind of said there were a few hiccups along the way. And the way that she phrased it suggested that, she was okay in the end. But when I looked back on it, I thought, I think this is a clue that the person really didn't have a good experience, but felt guilty for saying anything bad. Mm-hmm. So essentially, I hate to say it, but I'd be ruthless and just say it has to be 100% 5 stars with at least 40 ratings and the slightest possible hint of any hesitation on what they say. I wouldn't do it.
If it's not 5 stars on everything, I wouldn't do it. And I know they get bad ratings, but...
Because we've noticed over the experience we've had this time, and even when Ellie and I went, the ones where there's like no negative commentary, because we've really looked for 5-star ones, but the ones where there's no negative commentary, but there's some hesitating, it's like you're awkwardly trying to think of what to rate on a postcard because you don't know. If somebody's review says that, I think that's a clue that something wasn't right, and I think people feel guilty saying something bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unfortunately, if nobody says anything bad, then nobody knows.
Yeah.
And the thing is, looking back on this experience, I would say I would probably have booked all hotels. The other thing is, this isn't an Airbnb problem, but I would have booked it for less time because what we thought was,
Ellie said no more than 4 weeks, and we should have done that.
That's our
fault.
Ellie and I were kind of adventure. We'd pace ourselves with go, take a break for half a day. Go, take a break for half a day. And I thought with Tara, if we did a long period of weeks where we stayed a whole week in one place, that it would be relaxing for Tara. The problem is everybody else would get bored, and so then they drive Tara crazy. Then they drive Tara crazy, and then it wasn't so relaxing. So kind of, I'd say this isn't this isn't an issue about the trip. This was just us not understanding ourselves so much, is that because we haven't really had any vacations until the last few that we've talked about. And on that, what was I going to say? I think one thing we realize is if you have a big family with people of a whole bunch of different ages, it's maybe not a good idea to travel for a very long time, very far away from home together, because it'd be better to go in groups of people that have kind of like things. And like the whole family, it'd be better to go for 4 or 5 days to somewhere not so far from home. And that was just a mistake that we made. It's like Ellie and Dave like to say mistakes were made.
Yeah. Even Superhost, guys. Several of the places we stayed are Superhost.
The one yesterday was the one in London was a Superhost,
and it was nasty. But here's the thing: Bandana Grandma asked, "Were the pictures not representative of what you saw?" Okay, so not exactly.
Sometimes,
but yes. So like the one last week that we stayed at that was really not clean. She had that place spotless, and she had everything removed, so it looked like it was a house that was vacant. And
in the pictures,
in the pictures, and they were just renting it out as like it's their vacation home, and then they rent it.
Yeah,
when
it appeared to be an extra house.
When we got there was stuff all over the place.
It looked like they'd just been watching TV and turned off the remote and walked out the door.
Yeah,
and
the refrigerator was full of food.
The bathroom, all their clothes were hanging up there in the bed.
School supplies sitting on the couch.
And all the bath toys on the tub. Yeah. So basically, it was kind of, almost felt like we were in the wrong house. And we were invading somebody's space. Yeah. But there were others. There was one that when we first came to London. So London was the place where we had the most ill-marketed ones. And the one that we went, in other words, bad. And the one that we went to, the first one in London, the one with the foxes, if you haven't seen that, it's on the London 2 video.
Yeah, that was our first night.
I know the foxes, not their problem. It's not their fault. That's no big deal. That's nothing. But on that one, the house, like you'd take a shower. It was
moldy.
Well, really our sister-in-law took a shower for just a few minutes upstairs, and it started flooding downstairs. And
it was really moldy. Dave and I got really sick because it was super, super moldy. And then the neighbors, it was 80 degrees with humidity that was like 90%. It was hot. The neighbors were trying to sell us a parka.
Yeah, the neighbor.
We were like, what? She had on the patio
she kept
these
saying,
old
"Do you
ratty.
want a parka?"
You couldn't even sit in them patio chairs because the seats had fallen through.
Wait. But the neighbor, we know the neighbor's not the fault of the
but
owner.
Still, it was not a good neighborhood.
But the owner,
that was the point of that.
Well, it was described as a lot nicer neighborhood than it was. And when we talked to some of our friends,
filthy on the streets. There was trash everywhere.
Yeah, and the area said that's not such a great part of town. But the thing is, with her, this is answering. I was kind of taking the long way around answering Bandana Grandma's question. So that one, what she did is she put some really pretty bedding on the beds, and she shot really close-up shots where you couldn't see that much of the room. And in reality, the bedding wasn't the same on the beds, but it was a similar character of bedding. Like the, I'm not talking about all the bedding, but just like the throw pillows were colorful. But it kind of, the stuff that wasn't so great was just not in the pictures. Like in that one, didn't she count? There was like a mini couch with a giant ottoman, and she counted that as a double, large double bed. And the thing is, we put David and Jack there, but it really wouldn't have been a large double bed for most people. No. For the kids, we could swing it, but I'm trying to remember what else was. That one had some other the smoke detectors. What I was thinking,
we had 2 places with beeping smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detectors. It was one. Mike and Jack were like, "Where's this beeping come from?" Somebody had stuffed it under a mattress.
The previous people that stayed there stuffed it between the mattresses, and when we found it, I just took the battery down, set it on the counter, and I messaged the owner and said, "Hey, just so you know, the previous people."
So guys, once again, we're not trying to sound like entitled Americans, but when you pay almost $200 a night, $150 a night, you expect a few things. And
well, no, hold on. No, what you expect is what the people told you were going to get.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know. I think toilet paper should be there for the duration of your stay. And most places just had 2 rolls, and that was it. And we're a family of 5 or 6, and we were having to go buy toilet paper. You know, for $150 a night, $200 a night,
the daily amount
at least 1 roll a day should be included. You know, so...
Well, I guess I would say, because somebody asked about it, I forgot who was asked about if your kids are starting up an Airbnb, and I would say, you don't need to, like, throw everything in there and spend all your money supporting your Airbnb. But you should put enough in there that the normal person would feel like, okay, this is all right. Even if you have to charge more for that, because people would rather pay more and get what you tell them you're going to give them. Well, now the toilet paper, they didn't say they were going to give us that, but there were a lot of them that said, this is what you're getting. And then when we got there, that's not what it was. But the price was a lot higher, and we would not have paid the price.
And don't put like 20 rolls of toilet paper, but at least 1 roll. If it's like 2 people for a week, I would leave at least 3 rolls.
Well, and I think some people were kind of defensive, because even though most people that stayed in their places were okay, like I'm particularly thinking of the lady with the electric thing.
Yeah. 1
or 2 people stayed in the house and kind of didn't treat it well. But the problem is, if you treat all of your visitors like they're those people, nobody's going to want to stay there. And that was the main thing. Yeah. So the issue is not that we expect this grand, amazing thing.
No.
It's that when your price is more expensive than a hotel, but you don't know it because the fees are added afterwards. and then what the people's experience is not what you described. I mean, like some things you can say, well, I thought it would be this, but it was that. And it's, you know, you might say, oh, we just didn't understand because it was a different country. But it's hard to say it's super quiet and relaxing and then reconcile that with airplanes flying over because you're in the flight path of the airport.
Oh, that just about drove me bonkers. That noise makes my fibromyalgia and CFS go crazy. That about made me go bonkers.
Oh, something else I would say.
So I'm going to celebrate my birthday at home.
Something else I would say. This isn't a complaint, but for the person who is saying your kids are thinking about starting an Airbnb, one thing I would suggest is if there's something, if it's like a place that's difficult to get to or whatever, it might be helpful to just include information. Like in London, we had a guy, I was just chit-chatting with this guy on the train, and he told us, well,
Chris, if you hear this,
you're brilliant, man.
We thank you so much. You saved us. We never got your last name, so we can't find you on Facebook, but thank you. You saved us. We were so tired, and we were so thankful you showed us that shortcut.
So,
Thank you.
Yes. So this is not a complaint, but a suggestion if you have an Airbnb and you want to make it easier for people. This school vice principal that we met, we didn't know that till after I talked to him for an hour on the train, but he helped us figure out how to cut 30 minutes off of getting from the train to the Airbnb. And he recommended an app called City Mapper, which you can use like in London or Paris or a few other places. And it's an amazing app that helps you figure out, oh, you can go find this bus here and it shows up at this time and it costs this much, and then it takes you here and it connects, and then you walk 300 feet in that direction and then connect with this train, and it's just amazing. And this particular place, I would have, well, pretty much all the ones in London, if I were doing an Airbnb in London, I would make a reference to that app in my material for people. Just because, you know, I know it's not necessarily your responsibility if you have Airbnb to tell people how to get around, but it's kind of the things that make people feel like you're taking care of them. Like on our last trip when Ellie and I went, there was a guy in Killarney, a really great guy, that we booked a place from, and he he was over the top helpful in just telling us, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. I know that's an idea you had, but that's not wise for this reason. I think you should do this instead, and you'll have a much better time." And he was right. And that was one of the things that we liked about Airbnb on that trip. But we didn't on this trip. Yeah. We didn't really have that experience. So
one other thing for if you're having an Airbnb, thing that I found, because we had thought about doing Airbnb when we're looking for our next house, which I'm going to be doing. Just kidding, not really, but you don't just accept anybody who wants to use your house for an Airbnb. Go in and look at the profile and read every review on that person and make sure that that person is on the up and up and they're not going to do anything to your place. So you as the host, go check the reviews on the people who are doing it. Secondly, if there's no reviews, don't let them come to your house. Third, if they are in the same city or in an hour or less of your house, don't let them do it, because it's probably some teenagers going for a party. That happens a lot, apparently. They go and decide to rent an Airbnb for the night and they trash the house with a party. So those are 3 things you as the host to check the people who are staying in your house.
So if you're going to book one to stay in
and meet them in person.
If you're going to book one to stay in, you should be extremely, extremely picky.
Yeah.
And if you're going to rent one to other people, you should be pretty picky with them too, to make sure, because it's your house. If you're renting your house, you want to make sure that the people are going to treat it well.
Yeah. Okay, so we are in beautiful Norway. It's actually getting cold out here.
Let's show you again.
And there are no bugs. I forgot that about now? Sweden. It's like 9 o'clock, 9:30.
It's 9:30 at night and the sun is still
out. No, 8:45. Well, I don't know. Is my phone still on England time, or I don't know if it's 8:45 or 9:45. But
here, you hold
anyway,
this and I'll Google it.
Mike's gonna Google what time we are. There's our view. We are coming home August 13th, but we are not going to do any shows until the next week. This will probably be our last show on our trip, because quite frankly,
we didn't want to be complaining.
It's been frustrating enough that we just don't want to look like we're complaining. And so I know this whole video seems like we are complaining, but it's actually more of a warning to help people who are trying to stay in Airbnb.
Yeah, it's 9:46.
Oh, it's 9:45, 9:46. So it's late. Yeah, and look at that. It's not even dark yet. Isn't that hilarious? Oh my goodness. Actually, it looks darker on the screen than it actually is in person.
I just want to say, by the way, this is not an Airbnb thing, but I think we have learned some from our mistakes in that when Ellie and I booked the side trip to Paris at the suggestion of our friend Darren from London, again, it didn't cost very much because we were just going from London to Paris on a train, which was not very expensive. But we stayed in a hotel, which ended up not being very expensive, and it was really nice.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I have some familiarity with French, but I don't speak it really well. But it was so much fun talking to people, and it's funny because I know a lot of people think that French people are rude, but I have never ever had that experience in France.
But you're nice.
Well, I'm nice, but also I try to speak with them in French. And actually, it was kind of funny because I started picking up on little things they said that were kind of amusing in the situation, that I thought, oh, this is really nice. And I'll just pass this along real quick. Ellie and I went to one thing, and there was a sign there that said the tickets are all sold out. You can't do this. You have to book the tickets online. But we can't book the tickets online because when we try, the authorization fails with the credit card. Even though I've talked to the credit card company, they said I can do all this stuff, but they can't figure out why it's failing on the online stuff. So I went up to the security guard and I asked him, hey, is there any way I can buy the ticket today at the box office and then come back on the day when the thing happens? And he ended up saying, go wait over there. So he had me go wait. And he called us in specially and worked a deal for us to be able to go get a ticket to go into it that minute. And I was thinking, some people say French people are rude, and none of these people have been rude to me. But no, hold on. I was thinking this guy was over the top nice. But the next day, we went to another place where there was an American lady, and she was another American lady, and she was just not. She wasn't being mean, but she was frustrated about something she saw and misunderstood, and she was talking to the guy and not in the nicest way, and he was like, "No English, go." and I was thinking, this is a different guy, but I was thinking, to me it just seemed that it's how you approach people. Like, I came to them, we would go in, speak French as much as we could, which often wasn't that much. But just being nice to people goes a long way.
And one thing
Ellie and I just loved France.
The best part of this trip, though, the number one best part of this trip was meeting our viewers. Has been
awesome.
Best. Well, we met Crystal.
Crystal was over the top.
In Ireland, we got to meet Marion. Is that how you say her name? I can't remember. I think it was Marianne. I can't remember how to pronounce it. She had a particular way of pronouncing it. And we met
two.
Yeah. Then we met, was it Dion in Ireland. They were awesome. Lovely ladies. Absolutely love them. We got to meet Darren again.
Dion brought us some turf.
Yeah, she brought us some peat so we could see what it looks like. Mike has been spotted 3 times just in public, just walking around. He's been spotted 3 times and people recognized him.
Well, and I keep thinking I know Canada them because
and 2
I'm not
from the States, I think.
Yeah, I keep thinking, I think I know this person? I don't know.
And so they'd come up and say, "Oh, we love your show."
And I think, oh, okay, I thought I met you somewhere else.
So that has been the best part of our entire trip. We loved staying with Crystal because when we stayed with Crystal, she's great. We absolutely love Crystal. And if I ever make it back to England again, I'm just going to go stay at Crystal's house or stay in a motel there.
She did suggest that you come and just hang out there.
No, but here's the thing.
It would be better just to stay in that one place.
But the best part was actually being with a real English woman. We got to ask her things like, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? Well, why do you call it this? Why do you do that? That has actually been the best part. Talking to our viewers like Darren and Crystal and Marianne too, but asking them why they do things, how they do things, and things like that. That has been the best part. And really with all these Airbnbs, we haven't really got to meet any of the owners or anything, so we haven't got to do that. But that has been absolutely the number one thing of our entire trip. And we're meeting Torrid tomorrow, who has been with us for 3 years live now. We've been live for 3 years, and she has been with us since, I think, like the first or second show. Yeah, it was 2016. It's 2016. So she has been with us the whole time, and we are so excited to meet her tomorrow. We can't wait. And she's going to show us around Bergen, Norway. So if you're in Bergen, Norway, and you see us, say hi. Don't be shy. What's so funny is these people are shy, and they don't want to say anything to us. And
we're just regular people.
They're just, it's
we're just regular people.
It's so hilarious. But not that we'll meet anybody in Bergen.
Yeah, we're regular people. But, I mean, you can feel free to introduce yourself. We love meeting people.
Yeah, that's actually been the best part of the whole trip, is meeting all our viewers. And that's where I think I've had the most fun, is with that. So anyway, we have been on here way too long. Anyway, meant this to be like a 15-minute, 20-minute video. Didn't mean to go an hour and 20 minutes, but you guys know us. So anyway,
let's look again at the fjord.
There it is.
Whoops, I've got blocking the camera here. Oh, there we go.
I don't even know what a fjord is, but it's there. Whatever it is, it's really pretty. It's that body of water for some reason, but I didn't look up to see why it's called a fjord, so I don't know.
I think it comes in from the ocean, and it's like a
Is that what it is?
Something like that, yeah.
And so this will probably be our last live stream until around August 20, no, probably like 18th or something, 18th or 19th. I don't know. We'll put notices up when we're going to go live when we get home. And just so you guys know, we have discussed some things and we are making some changes to our website and to our channel. Some fairly significant changes, at least for us. You guys may not notice the changes quite as much as we will, but we're making some changes.
Just to so everyone is clear what we're actually about.
Yeah. And yeah, we've kind of been talking about that just a little bit. No, we're not working on our vacation, but you know, we've talked about it a little bit, and we've actually come to a decision that we're going to make some changes, and those are going to happen when we get there, and we're going to tell you about them. So anyway,
it's exciting.
Thank you guys for your interest in following us on our trip. Sorry it wasn't the great, wonderful to-do that everyone thought it would be, yes included. But you know,
well, there's been good stuff.
So yeah. So we appreciate it. And are the kids ready to go home? Yes, we've all been ready to go. Once we left Massam, actually, after we left Dublin the first time, when we left Dublin, everyone was ready to go home after that. It was kind of like that was just the tipping point for everybody. So 2 weeks was really a perfect amount of time, and we should have just done that. But we didn't know, and now we know, so we won't do that again. Hello, Mother. Now we're getting off. We'll Facebook you, Mother, as soon as we get off, because we got good internet at this house. So anyway, all right, guys, please like, subscribe, and share. Please visit us at Living on the Dime for now, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.